Now
on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
5:06. It's O'Connor and Company this Monday, President's Day in your nation's capital. How exciting. So we celebrate President's Day hoping that someday we'll actually have a real president living in the White House. That's what this is about, right? It's like Christmas. It's just
That's
like
right.
Go to bed with visions of sugar plums dancing in your heads and wake up. Oh, no, it's still that guy.
Oh, but I've been reassured several times that the grown-ups are in charge, Larry.
Oh, yes, very grown up.
Yes.
7:05, Joe DeGeneva will join us. 7:35, Jane Hampton-Cook, presidential historian. And then at 8:05, Zach Smith, Heritage Foundation, talk about that judgment against Trump that came down on Friday. It's Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Oh, remember how you were like fighting that bug last week? Thanks a lot.
Oh, it's rough, isn't it?
You hear it in my voice? It's there a little bit.
Well, I still have it too. So it's gonna be great this
morning.
morning.
Fantastic. All right, Politico somehow stumbled across some accidental investigative journalism. Though it sounds like it was literally handed to them via somebody walked into the office and said, "Hey, take a look at these emails." That shows how Joe Biden utilized his brother James Biden to make a ton of money for the Biden family. Politico reported this over the weekend, of course. So really, let me rephrase this. Politico figured out a way to bury some investigative reporting and have the rest of the media ignore it. It's so amazing when this happens that they come out with what should be in any other presidency a bombshell report detailing exactly the money scheme that we've seen unfold from the New York Post article, the Hunter Biden laptop story, the bragging about Burisma, and then what we're seeing from the Oversight Committee. It is the exact same pattern of behavior, utilizing Hunter Biden and James Biden to set up a relationship with a corporation. Then that corporation has a chance meeting with the vice president of the United States that was arranged by either James or Hunter Biden. Then suddenly people from the Biden family end up on the payroll. People around the president in his inner circle end up getting money from that business. And whenever anybody blows the whistle on it and says, "What the hell is this all about?" Joe says, "I have no idea. I'm completely removed from all of this. I don't have anything to do with it."
Let's talk about the weather.
The headline is Biden's brother used his name to promote a hospital chain. Then it collapsed. Oh, yeah, that's the other part of the entire pattern. The business venture. Everyone keeps giving money to these people to do business ventures, whether it's a Chinese energy company or, in this case, a hospital chain or a Ukrainian energy. And the businesses always collapse.
They always collapse, yeah.
They never actually do what the business was intended to do. But here's Hunter and James
before they collapse,
Biden.
there's lots of money.
Tons of money flying back and forth.
Yeah.
And meetings with the vice president.
This hospital group that you're talking about was mostly in rural areas.
Right.
Helping rural people.
To service underprivileged people who, by the way, get a whole lot of Medicaid and Medicare government money, right?
Yeah.
And yet somehow they keep attracting investments.
Yes.
You would think that investors, after a little while, would say, "Well, show us your track record. Show us the one business that you invested in that ended up being a thriving concern that you can point to, that you can walk me through the door of right now so I can visit the offices." And that never happens. And meanwhile, they have over 20 shell corporations to pass all this money back and forth. None of the businesses that they invest in ever do anything. And then they keep getting investments. It's almost like that money is not really an investment for the business that they're investing in. It's really just a way to pass money to the Biden family.
That's right.
So the headline is Biden's brother used his name to promote a hospital chain, then it collapsed. Bombshell report about Joe Biden's involvement in his brother Jim's corrupt healthcare business that was involved in Medicare fraud. Here's just a little snippet of it, and I want to be honest with you. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to this until Miranda Devine of the New York Post pointed it out. Because as far as I'm concerned, if Politico is doing this, it's all part of the cover-up. You know, I just don't trust any of these reporters.
Right.
But when Miranda Devine of the New York Post, the woman who should have won the Pulitzer Prize for breaking the Hunter Biden laptop story, but instead was censored and called a propagandist and a tool of Russian disinformation.
That's right.
When she said this is really solid reporting, I said, okay, let me take a look at the article. Here's a good snippet of it. The investigation, based on public records, court filings, dozens of interviews, and hundreds of exclusively obtained internal documents. This is what I mean. Somebody walked into the Politico with all of this research done and said, here, I've done all the research. It shows that Joe and his family is crooked. You just, verify it however you need to verify it. But I assure you, Politico, on their own initiative, did not do this investigation. Yeah. By the way, how do I know that? because for the last 15 years, I've worked for various internet websites that are of a political nature, and oftentimes political operatives walk into your office with a folder like this. It's been given to me before, too. And it's usually opposition research on another candidate. And sometimes it's legit. Sometimes it's Fusion GPS and the Russian dossier.
Yep.
Okay. The investigation, blah, 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 I already said that, reveals that Jim Biden's role, that's the president's brother, at AmeriCorps was larger than previously reported. In some internal documents and investor materials, his name was included among its top handful of leaders. He has also helped the company seal regulatory approval to acquire the Pennsylvania hospital and personally fired AmeriCorps' chief financial officer, according to the emails obtained by Politico. Sounds like Burisma, doesn't it? You get a big assistance from the federal government. You're placed high up with the Biden name, the brand, right? And by the way, I don't know, I could be wrong, but during the Obama administration, when Joe Biden was vice president, health care, regulation regarding health care.
Yeah, kind of a big deal.
Government money going to pay for health care. I think that was an emphasis. In fact, I think that our law was rewritten in such a way to give government a much bigger role, and for that matter, the president and his Secretary of Health and Human Services a huge role in determining government contracts, in terms of funding for health care. So it's just a coincidence, I'm sure, that Biden was able to do all of these things at a time when his brother was whispering in Barack Obama's ear that it was a BFD that he signed Obamacare into law. Right? See how all these things fit together? The investigation also reveals that Joe Biden's name and inner circle were more involved with the company that has been understood. In other words, that has been understood is a euphemism for that Joe Biden has denied. In addition to the accounts provided by former executives, investor materials describe Jim Biden as an advisor to his older brother.
Oh, see how
Did you know that? Did you know that he was Joe's advisor?
It's nice how that works.
Yeah.
Yep.
And on top of Joe Biden's own previously reported...
Investor materials.
Oh, sorry.
No. I just am repeating what you said. I mean, that's just amazing. Investor materials describe Jim Biden as an advisor to his older brother. Think of that.
So, in other words, a big hedge fund operator or a big mutual fund operator.
We've got a guaranteed in.
That's right.
With that White House.
Let's see who's the executive team here.
Yes.
Oh, Jim Biden.
That's
wow.
exactly right. And we don't even have to talk about hospital stuff. I'm an investor in this. I get to talk to him about whatever I need to.
On top of Joe Biden's own previously reported encounter with the firm's CEO, at least 3 of Joe Biden's relatives worked with AmeriCorps.
Of course.
They include Jim Biden's wife, Sarah. You know, she's the one who handed him a $40,000 check. His son, Jamie, the president's son, Hunter, also met with its CEO. And I love this part. His personal doctor and current White House physician, Kevin O'Connor.
This is the guy who will certify that he doesn't have mashed potato for brains.
That's correct. But he will not take questions from the press.
Right.
Every 6 months, he puts out a memo that says, yeah, the president's fine. But will never subject him to. No one's seen this guy. Where is Kevin O'Connor? It's like he's on the side of a milk carton. I assure you he's not related to me. I do have a Kevin O'Connor in my family, not this one. Kevin O'Connor is my brother, is actually a smart and, he's a little.
Do we know Kevin O'Connor actually exists?
No idea. Well, except that he collected money from AmeriCorps. He joined a meeting with Jim Biden and the president of a hospital being acquired by AmeriCorps, according to a former executive and emails obtained by Politico. Here's how Miranda Devine breaks it down. Well, you know what? We'll break it down for you. If you got lost in all of this, we've got the bullet points. And as we lay this out here, what Joe, Jim, Hunter, and all these other Bidens that ended up on the payroll, including his personal doctor who vouches for his non-mashed potato brains, we'll lay it all out for you. We'll give you the breakdown of how they made money in this corrupt scheme, and then you compare it to all the other ones that we've heard, like Burisma, like the Chinese energy companies, like insert name of fake company here, and you'll see exactly how they do it and how they're getting away with it, how they're actually. Are you kidding? We're supposed to applaud this guy. It's President's Day after all. It's 5:50.
WMAL.
Making sense of the news.
Live
from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
Join Vince Colonnese March 7th for the all-new Stake of the Union at Bourbon Boulevard in Chantilly. Details at WMAL.com/stake.
Sorry, I was in the throes of coughing and sneezing there as the
That was
weather
so
report.
helpful.
And you really were.
Yeah,
you
I was
just
just
laughing at me instead of jumping in. I'll do the weather for you, Larry.
You're fine.
Good morning. There's a bug going around. Take it easy. Be careful. It's 5:18 here, and we're going to summarize now. This and no, I'm sort of only half, teasing Politico here about how they buried it and how it was handed to them. They published it at least. I guess we should be grateful for that. It was ignored by ABC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC. Everybody ignored it. I don't know. Let's see. Maybe the House Oversight Committee will do something with it. Miranda Devine breaks it down. Textbook Biden business model. Joe Biden meets the CEO of AmeriCorps. Hunter Biden meets with him too. Jim Biden, his wife Sarah, and their son Jamie are on the AmeriCorps payroll.
Ugh.
Joe's personal doctor, White House physician Kevin O'Connor, joins AmeriCorps meeting with Jim Biden. Bidens make a bunch of money. Little people get hurt, which is a big key here.
Yes, because it closed. It fell apart.
Right. The whole thing was a scam.
Rural hospitals.
Joe knew nothing. He only talked about the weather. They literally said that.
Yeah.
They literally said that. Oh, so wait, hold on. Joe Biden had a meeting with the CEO. That's what started this whole thing in motion. What did they talk about? The weather.
This is what Dan Goldman said.
Yeah.
When there were those phone calls with Joe, and Hunter would randomly call his dad, just to show he has access. And Dan Goldman was like, he actually said that.
Yeah.
He only talked about the weather. It's like this line they have.
A Biden campaign official said that Joe, by the way, I love that it was the campaign that responded to this, not the White House counsel, not Joe Biden's personal attorney, not the White House press office. It was the campaign that responded to this. Biden campaign officials said that Joe Biden never discussed AmeriCorps with his brother or expressed support for the business. The officials said that he doesn't have to express support for the business. He meets with the CEO.
Exactly.
They take a picture of him with the CEO. They throw that around. It's on the internet. Anybody who's looking to invest as well. There's a Biden on the executive staff, and that guy says that he's his brother's advisor. And look, there's a picture of him.
Well,
with
and
the CEO.
Joe Biden always talks about, my strength is my family. I'm
That's
close
right.
with my family, and they all brag about how they're all so close. So you don't even have to brag about it. Everyone knows.
The official said that AmeriCorps' founder, Grant White, purchased a ticket to a September 2017 fundraiser for the Beau Biden Foundation, an event attended by Joe Biden. If the two interacted in any way, it would have been a handshake and nothing more. Yeah, because, when have we ever seen a corrupt politician set up a foundation so that money can be donated to that foundation to curry favor with the politician that set up the foundation?
Never heard of that.
Actually, we hear about that all the time, don't we? The investigation also reveals that Joe Biden's name and inner circle were more involved with the company than has been understood. In addition to the accounts provided by former executives, investor materials describe Jim. Oh, we already did this part. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm repeating myself. AmeriCorps sent Jim Biden $200,000 loan in March of 2018 that he and his wife, Sarah, used to write checks to Joe Biden.
Gotta get the big guy in there.
So there's a canceled check here from James and Sarah Biden. It's dated March 1st, 2018, and it's $200,000 to Joe Biden. In the memo, it says loan repayment.
Yeah.
And yet we've never seen any paperwork for that loan.
What's that loan for?
Miranda Devine continues, jaw-dropping that Jim Biden paid Joe Biden's $200,000 that was funded by a payment he received from AmeriCorps when, according to the SEC, it was insolvent. So they had $200,000 to give to Jim to funnel onto the big guy at a time when the hospital company was insolvent. If this happened in Australia or the UK, the administrator or bankruptcy trustee would aggressively recover these funds. Here, nothing. So, it's just another roadmap for people if they're interested. I don't know. I used to think the Justice Department or the FBI might be interested in things like this. What the hell is taking them so long?
Yeah, exactly.
And we're about to reach the point where the Justice Department is going to say, listen, we don't want to get involved in a presidential race because the last thing we want to do is be political. So we're just going to suspend the investigation until after election.
Well, you know what? Miranda Devine, she starts that tweet off by saying, this is textbook Biden. The thing is, we're sitting here going, why isn't the FBI investigating this? This isn't the only one.
No, the answer is that's part of the scheme.
Yep.
That's part of the scheme because David Weiss, the guy who is the U.S. attorney in Delaware, who has connections to the Biden family because Delaware.
Right.
Instead, he's prosecuting the FBI informant who blew the whistle on
Right.
Hunter Biden.
Right.
That's where the priority is right now. And the answer to why isn't the FBI doing anything is the FBI is part of the plan.
That's right.
That's why Joe Biden has been Joe Biden his entire lamentable, corrupt political career. Happy President's Day, everybody. It's 5:23.
Making sense of your world.
And I just want to say you're doing a fantastic job.
News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
Listen to you guys all the time.
Making sense of the news. Now,
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 5:36 now. Your President's Day is off to a great start. Thanks for joining us. We're pretty much going to spend the whole first of 5 o'clock hour here on this President's Day to tell you all of the ways that this president is corrupt and should be removed from the White House. Happy President's Day. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenova will reinforce everything that we're telling you now. At 7:35, Jane Hampton Cook, presidential historian. 8:05, Zach Smith from Heritage Foundation about the award that the judgment against Donald Trump on that Friday judgment out of a New York court. I'm Larry O'Connor alongside Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie. So it was October, I think, where we laid out this story. It was reported by Semaphore, which is a investigative unit that focuses on national security issues that really is impeccable. It's nonpartisan, Semaphore is, and they've got really good content, really smart content. And no one has disputed any of the items of this story back in October. Hasn't been reported much outside of that, as is typical. Robert Malley was the Biden administration's point person on Iran policy. I believe his title was Special Envoy to Iran. His job was to salvage the then defunct Iran nuclear deal that Donald Trump promised to get rid of and did when he was president of the United States. He was let go, or he was put on leave, technically, in June of last year. There was no explanation as to why he was suddenly put on administrative leave, which is a move that the federal government often does when somebody's being investigated or when there's a problem. And it was determined by this investigation from Semaphore that Mr. Malley brought into the U.S. government, into the Biden administration, a handful of individuals who had worked with foreign policy and national security think tanks here in town for the last decade plus. They were originally placed at those think tanks via the Iran
Experts Initiative.
Yeah, it was called the Iran Experts Initiative, and it was set up by the Iran Foreign Ministry for basically a communications information operation
designed to bolster Tehran's image in the world.
And these individuals were part of that initiative and then got jobs in our government to help not just steer America's policy toward Iran, but also to deliver communications, information, and what's the word I'm looking for? Propaganda. Bolstering Iran's image in this country. By the way, at least one of these individuals still works at the Pentagon. Pentagon, looked into it and they said, oh, no, we stand by her. She's fine. Well, now the story has taken another step because instead of just being on leave and this being something that Semaphore is reporting on, no one else seems to care about except us here. Now there is a full-on Inspector General's investigation here. And it's still not criminal conduct, certainly. And, boy, I know the FBI, they'll start a counterintelligence investigation into somebody working
on Catholic dads
or on the Trump campaign. If George Papadopoulos is sitting in a bar in London and an Australian ambassador pretends to hear that he said that they had Hillary Clinton's emails, boy, you got a full-blown counterintelligence investigation. But as of now, we don't know of any such thing here. Here's how the New York Post gives you the latest. President Biden's ex-special Iran envoy, Robert Malley, is now facing a probe from the State Department's Inspector General. Again, Inspector General. It's like Inspector Generals have no criminal weight. We've seen they don't have subpoena power. These things, they're going to deliver a report about this at some point after the Biden presidency. The scope of the special review on the suspension of Robert Malley's clearance will include the procedures the department used in suspending the clearance, as well as actions taken by the department following the suspension. This will include whether the department followed proper procedures in suspending his clearance, determining what access to information he could maintain, and deciding the status of his employment. So what are they going to come back and say? You know what? He should have
Meanwhile,
been...
he has all these clearances right now.
Well, no, I thought he was clear. I thought they
suspended it.
Yeah, when he was put on leave, I thought that they
Okay.
suspended his
Okay.
clearances, unless you know something.
No.
Oh, okay. Malley had been a key figure to U.S. affairs, steering policy toward Tehran. Back in 2015, he served as the top negotiator of the controversial Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action. That's the Iran nuclear deal, by the way. The FBI also reportedly opened an investigation related to Malley last year. Lawmakers have pressed the Biden administration for answers on the mystery surrounding Malley's suspension. State Department officials have repeatedly ducked questions in public settings about why Malley was placed on leave. By the way, I've read the Semaphore report multiple times. That's the first time I've ever heard that the FBI opened an investigation into Malley.
Yeah.
So forgive me for saying, where's the FBI on this? Apparently there is an investigation, but we haven't heard anything about it.
Well, it isn't just Malley. Biden's senior director of intelligence permits at the White House is Mehar Bitar, who was an official with UNRWA. I mean,
UNRWA. That's the corrupt organization that was helping Hamas.
As we've said on the show several times, the call is coming from in the House. They've got these, and when you look at Biden's softening on Israel, or not softening, hardening really on Israel, the calling for ceasefire, the calling for some sort of talks without talking about the hostages. This is why these people are in the administration.
Yeah. While the Inspector General is looking into the details that led to his suspension and how he was put on leave and clearances suspended and all that stuff, I would love another investigation, maybe it can be a congressional one, on how this guy was hired in the first place and how the other people that he brought into the government were hired.
And who did he bring it? Like, who's left?
And who else is here?
Yeah.
This is how the Alexander Vindmans of the world get put on the National Security Council, and then they listen in on a phone call that the president has with the president of Ukraine and then leak it to the public, leading to an impeachment process. That's how this happens. What's the deep state? This is the deep state.
Yep.
Would you say the phone call was coming from inside the House? The phone call was coming from inside the House. San Francisco is now very proud of the fact that the newest member of the San Francisco Elections Commission doesn't actually have the ability to legally vote in the United States. She has been in the country for less than 5 years. She is a Chinese national. In fact, we don't even know if she's in the country legally or not, do we? Kelly Wong, a Hong Kong immigrant, was sworn in on Thursday, believed to be the first non-citizen appointed to the commission. An immigrant rights advocate, of course, came to the U.S. from Hong Kong in 2019 to pursue a graduate degree, sworn in at a ceremony. How's this possible? The answer is Democrats. Gavin Newsom signed into law a bill that was passed through the Democrat-dominated Sacramento legislature that allows someone to serve in appointed office in California regardless of immigration status. Go ahead.
Yeah. This is nothing new. Just around here, College Park, I'll never forget, and this was around 2017. They announced an effort to let non-citizens vote. Now that failed, but these, these blue cities, these Democrat-led cities, they will constantly do this kind of stuff. Figure out ways where non-citizens or illegal aliens, or in that case in College Park, I don't think there was any requirement to show you're a citizen.
Well, no, because there's no ID requirement.
Right, of course.
So they just let non-citizens vote. But this goes even one step further, because this is a person on the on the elections commission. So let's say you contest some ballots. You as a public citizen, you have the right to say, hey, I believe this person voted and they don't have the right to vote. The person who's adjudicating that also doesn't have the right to vote because they're not a legal citizen either. And the whole purpose of this is she's an immigration advocate.
Yeah.
And so they want to make sure that people who are in this country legally, or regardless of legal status and regardless of immigration status, have a seat at the table to determine what public policy should be, even when it comes to elections, for people who aren't in the country legally or as citizens, but it makes no sense. It literally makes no sense because she is now determining. She has more control and more power and more say
than a citizen
over the elections than a citizen does, than an average citizen does.
It's unbelievable.
And this is what every time you hear Kamala Harris say, "So goes California, so goes the nation." You think of people that are in power: Alejandro Mayorkas, Becerra at Health and Human Services, Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States, Secretary of Labor. I forget her name. Oh, she didn't get confirmed because even she was that bad from the Senate. They were all California. When they look to the best and brightest in the Democrat Party to run things in this town, they look to California, and these are the policies that they bring. The governor specifically said when he signed this bill last year or 2 years ago, he said he's building a more representative government requires an assessment of barriers that prevent talented and qualified Californians from consideration for public service. This bill strengthens representation by allowing more Californians to be considered for public service on boards and commissions based on the merits of their application and not their current immigration status. I'm a bit of a mess over here. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to knock that vessel over. The idea that this person, even set aside her immigration status for a minute, she's been in this country less than 5 years.
Yeah.
And as far as Gavin Newsom's concerned, she is more qualified and better qualified than someone who was born here.
Yeah, this position was appointed. Isn't that correct? Yeah. This was appointed. So she didn't, it's not like the citizens voted her into this position.
No.
She was appointed.
This is, again, back to the deep state.
Right.
Just like the people that Robert Malley brought in from the Iran spy ring.
So people did not vote for this woman. She is going to could very well change election laws to make it easier for illegals to vote in elections. And then there you go.
Yeah.
You have lost control.
I want to be clear. When the bill's sponsor of this bill that became law to allow this woman, a Chinese national in the country less than 5 years, to serve on the San Francisco Board of Elections, the bill sponsor specifically said in language describing this that this is all regardless of documentation status, including undocumented immigrants. Another term for that would be illegal immigrants. So this does include illegals being able to serve on these appointed commissions.
Yes, I'm sorry. Just, I think 5 days ago, the Virginia Senate, Democrat controlled, approved a bill granting undocumented children health care. Again, this is healthcare services that U.S. taxpayers are paying for, now going to undocumented children. And children are not turned away at the hospital if they're undocumented or don't have insurance. They're not turned away. But now we're going to have a whole new entitlement program for illegal aliens.
Well, no, Glenn Youngkin's not going to sign that into law. But that's what they would do if they could.
But this is what the Virginia Democrats would do.
Absolutely. But again, in terms of people in positions of power and people who are being appointed to council, do you ever notice one thing? Whether you're governor, lieutenant governor, member of the state senate, or whatever, these Democrats never volunteer to give up their job.
Right.
And give it to an illegal immigrant and someone who's in this country without an illegal status. No. They want to stay in power, but then they want to give other jobs, especially jobs of power and influence. Because honestly, what could go wrong when you've got a non-citizen, even an illegal immigrant, making decisions about elections in this country? I mean, but don't you dare raise any questions about this, because you'll just be called an election denier and a conspiracy theorist, by the way. I just want to give you a warning. 554.